You just hit $1 million in net worth. You check your accounts one morning, run the numbers again just to be sure, and there it is, 7 figures. A milestone that puts you in the top 18% of American households. Years of discipline, sacrifice, delayed gratification, you did it. And then something strange happens. You start making the worst financial decisions of your life. Not because you're reckless, not because you're stupid, but because the moment you become a millionaire, everything changes. And the biggest threat to your wealth isn't the stock market, isn't inflation, isn't some economic crisis. It's you. My name is Alex, and I've spent the last decade analyzing how people build wealth and, more importantly, how they lose it. And here's what nobody talks about. Reaching $1 million and protecting $1 million require completely different skill sets. It's like thinking that finishing your first marathon means you're ready for the Olympics. The finish line you just crossed, that's actually the starting line for a much harder race. If you want to protect the wealth you've built and turn that first million into generational money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because what I'm about to show you is the difference between people who temporarily have money and people who build legacies that last generations. There are 5 pillars of wealth protection at the millionaire level. And if you ignore even one of them, you're playing a game where the house always wins. Let me show you what happens to most first-generation millionaires. The numbers are brutal. Studies on sudden wealth acquisition, whether it's inheritance, business sales, or lottery winnings, show that a massive percentage of people lose substantial portions of their money within just a few years. Not because the money disappeared, but because they never learned how to protect it. Here's the psychological trap. You spent years living below your means, driving the old car, skipping the vacations, saying no to things you wanted. You made the sacrifices, and now you see that 7-figure number in your accounts and your brain does something predictable. It stops making mathematical decisions and starts making emotional ones. You confuse reaching a milestone with mastering wealth management. That's the trap right there. When you had $50,000, a 10% mistake cost you $5,000. Painful but survivable. With $1 million, that same 10% mistake costs you $100,000. Same percentage. Wildly different consequences. The math doesn't scale linearly. The risks multiply exponentially. And most people don't adjust their decision-making framework to match their new reality. So let me walk you through the 5 pillars that separate millionaires who stay millionaires from people who look back 5 years later wondering where it all went. First pillar. Professional guidance. And before you roll your eyes and think I'm about to sell you something, stay with me. Because the data here is striking. 69% of millionaires work with financial advisors. Compare that to just 33% of the general population. That's not a coincidence. Wealthy people consistently rank financial advisors as their most trusted source for money decisions. Not because rich people are smarter, but because they understand something crucial about human psychology. You know what you're good at. Maybe it's running a business, maybe it's your career, maybe it's real estate. Whatever got you to $1 million, that's your zone of genius. But wealth protection is a completely different discipline. It requires knowledge of tax law, estate planning, asset protection strategies, investment portfolio construction, risk management. That's not one skill set. That's 5 different specializations. And thinking you can master all of them while also doing the thing that actually makes you money, that's how you lose. Here's what changes at the $1 million mark. The complexity of your financial life increases dramatically. You're dealing with higher tax brackets, more sophisticated investment vehicles, estate planning considerations you never had to think about before. The cost of ignorance goes from annoying to catastrophic. A financial advisor who specializes in working with millionaires brings something you can't Google. Pattern recognition from working with hundreds of clients who face the exact situations you're about to face. But here's the thing most people get wrong about financial advisors. They think the value is in picking better stocks or timing the market. That's not it. The real value is in preventing you from making emotional decisions that destroy wealth. Keeping you invested when your brain is screaming to sell. Stopping you from chasing performance. Implementing tax strategies you didn't know existed. That behavioral coaching alone is worth multiples of what you pay in fees. Second pillar. Tax optimization. Ask any millionaire what their number one financial concern is, and the answer is always the same. Taxes. Because at the $1 million mark, you're in higher tax brackets than you've ever experienced. The federal marginal rate for high earners hits 37%. And if you live in a high-tax state like California, your combined tax burden can exceed 50% when you factor in federal rates, state income tax, and the net investment income tax. Let that sink in for a second. More than half of every additional dollar you earn goes to taxes. That's not a political statement, that's mathematics. And it means that tax optimization isn't some nice-to-have strategy for millionaires. It's the difference between building generational wealth and watching half your money disappear before it ever hits your account. Now we're getting to the part that actually matters. Because there are legitimate, completely legal strategies that millionaires use to reduce their tax burden, and most people making their first million have no idea these tools even exist. Tax loss harvesting. This is the practice of selling investments that have declined in value to offset capital gains from your winners. Let's say you made $50,000 on one stock but lost $20,000 on another. Without tax loss harvesting, you pay taxes on the full $50,000 in gains. With it, you only pay taxes on the net $30,000. You can use up to $3,000 in losses each year to offset ordinary income, and you can carry forward unused losses indefinitely. This one strategy can save you thousands every single year. Municipal bonds. These are bonds issued by state and local governments where the interest income is exempt from federal taxes. In high-tax states, it's often exempt from state taxes too. For someone in the 37% federal bracket, a municipal bond yielding 4% is equivalent to a taxable bond yielding over 6%. That's the power of tax-free income. Charitable remainder trusts. Here's where it gets interesting. You donate appreciated assets to a trust, get an immediate tax deduction, the trust sells the assets without paying capital gains tax, and you receive an income stream for life. When you pass away, the remainder goes to charity. You get a tax break, you get income, you support causes you care about, and you remove assets from your taxable estate. This is the kind of sophisticated strategy that sounds too good to be true but is completely legitimate. Backdoor Roth IRA. If your income is too high to contribute directly to a Roth IRA, and at the millionaire level it probably is, you can make non-deductible contributions to a traditional IRA and then convert it to a Roth. You're accessing the tax-free growth and tax-free retirement withdrawals of a Roth despite being above the income limits. Mega Backdoor Roth IRA. This is the big one. If your employer's retirement plan allows after-tax contributions, you can contribute tens of thousands of additional dollars beyond the normal limit and convert it to a Roth. We're talking about the potential to get over $60,000 into tax-free growth accounts in a single year. Most people have no idea this exists. And here's the opportunity that's about to get even better. The lifetime estate tax exemption for 2025 is $13.99 million for individuals and $27.98 million for married couples. Starting in 2026, under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed in July 2025, this permanently increases to $15 million for individuals and $30 million for married couples, with inflation indexing going forward. If you're strategic about wealth transfer now, you can move significant assets out of your taxable estate while these exemptions are at historic highs. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of 90% of people who hit their first million. But don't stop now, because the next three pillars are where most people completely drop the ball. Third pillar, asset protection. The moment you become a millionaire, you paint a target on your back, for lawyers, for creditors, for anyone involved in litigation who discovers you have assets worth pursuing. We live in an increasingly litigious society. A simple fender bender can turn into $1 million lawsuit if the other party's attorney discovers you're worth pursuing. That's not cynicism, that's reality. Your standard auto insurance probably covers you for $250,000 or maybe $500,000. Your homeowner's insurance might give you another $300,000 in liability coverage. You have $1 million in assets. See the problem? You're underinsured by hundreds of thousands of dollars. One lawsuit, one judgment, and everything you built is gone. This is where umbrella insurance becomes non-negotiable. It's liability coverage that kicks in after your other insurance policies are exhausted. It's sold in increments of $1 million, usually ranging up to $5 million. And here's the beautiful part. It's shockingly cheap. We're talking a few $100s a year for $1 million in coverage. You're insuring your entire net worth for less than you probably spend on coffee in a month. But insurance is just the beginning of asset protection. Sophisticated wealth protection uses legal structures to create barriers between you personally and your wealth. Limited liability companies, family limited partnerships. These aren't just for billionaires. They're tools that millionaires use to protect assets from creditors, lawsuits, and legal judgments. Here's how it works. Instead of owning rental properties in your own name, you hold them in an LLC. Someone sues you personally. They can't touch the assets in the LLC. Someone sues the LLC because of an issue with one property. They can't touch your other assets. You've compartmentalized risk. This is what wealthy people understand about asset protection. You don't just build walls around your entire fortune. You build separate containers so that if one gets breached, the others remain protected. Fourth pillar, investment diversification and portfolio management. Here's what research shows about self-made millionaires and their investment strategies. Are you ready for this? They're boring. Spectacularly, almost disappointingly boring. The typical millionaire portfolio is primarily global stocks with bonds added for stability. No complex trading strategies, no market timing, no concentration in hot sectors. Just disciplined, diversified, long-term investing. You know why? Because they understand the mathematics of wealth preservation. And those mathematics are completely different from the mathematics of wealth accumulation. Let me show you what I mean. The 2008 financial crisis. Concentrated stock portfolios lost more than 40% of their value. If you had $1 million and lost 40%, you're sitting on $600,000. Now here's the part that breaks people's brains. To get back to 1 million, you don't need a 40% gain. You need a 67% gain. Because you need $400,000 in growth on a $600,000 base. The math is asymmetric. Losses hurt more than equivalent gains help. A 20% loss requires a 25% gain just to break even. A 30% loss requires a 43% gain. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain. You have to double your money just to get back to where you started. This is why millionaires obsess over avoiding large losses instead of chasing large gains. Diversification is how you avoid large losses. When one asset class crashes, others hold steady or even rise. Stocks, bonds, real estate, international investments, different sectors. You spread the risk so that no single event can destroy your wealth. And here's the thing that drives day traders crazy. This boring strategy works. Low-cost index funds and ETFs give you instant diversification across hundreds or thousands of companies. The S&P 500 has delivered approximately 10% average annual returns over long-term periods. Not by picking winners, not by timing the market, just by owning the whole market and staying invested. That's it. That's the secret. And it's so simple that people assume it can't possibly be right. But the data doesn't care about your need for complexity. Boring wins. Consistent wins. Disciplined wins. The millionaires who stay millionaires understand this at a deep level. They don't get bored with their portfolios. They don't chase performance. They don't panic during downturns. They just keep executing the plan. Fifth pillar. Estate planning. The government is very interested in your money when you pass away, and without proper planning, they're going to take a massive chunk of it through estate taxes, probate costs, and legal battles that drain your accounts while your heirs watch helplessly. Now, the current federal estate tax exemption of $13.99 million, rising to $15 million in 2026, means most people with $1 million won't face federal estate taxes. But here's what they will face: probate, legal fees, administrative costs, family disputes. Without proper estate planning, your $1 million estate could easily turn into $600,000 by the time it actually reaches your beneficiaries. The foundation is getting your legal documents in order. An updated will. Powers of attorney for financial decisions. Healthcare directives. These are the basics, and you'd be shocked how many millionaires don't have them current. Your will from 10 years ago when you had $300,000 and one kid doesn't work now that you have 1 million and 3 kids. Update it. But millionaires need more than basic documents. They need trusts. A revocable living trust lets your assets avoid probate entirely. That means your financial affairs stay private, your heirs get their inheritance faster, and you avoid the costs and delays of the court system. You maintain complete control during your lifetime. You can change it, revoke it, whatever you want. But when you pass, it becomes irrevocable and distributes according to your wishes without court involvement. Irrevocable trusts are more powerful, but require giving up direct ownership of assets. Why would you do that? Because assets in an irrevocable trust aren't subject to estate taxes. They're protected from creditors. They can't be taken in lawsuits. You're removing wealth from your personal estate and placing it in a protected structure for the benefit of your heirs. And then there's strategic gifting. The annual gift tax exclusion for 2025 is $19,000 per person per year. You can give $19,000 to as many people as you want without any tax implications. A married couple with 2 adult children and 4 grandchildren can transfer over $200,000 per year through strategic gifting. Over 10 years, that's $2 million moved out of your taxable estate while you're still alive to see your family benefit. Now let me tie all of this together, because when you see how these 5 pillars work as a system, everything changes. You're not just protecting wealth, you're building a fortress. Professional guidance ensures you're not making these decisions in a vacuum. Your advisor implements tax optimization strategies that save you tens of thousands every year. Those tax savings get reinvested in a properly diversified portfolio that compounds over decades without unnecessary risk. Your assets are protected through legal structures and insurance, so one bad event can't wipe you out. And your estate plan ensures that when you're gone, your wealth transfers to the people you love instead of being consumed by taxes and legal fees. This isn't 5 separate strategies. It's one integrated system where each component reinforces the others. The tax strategies reduce your annual tax burden, giving you more to invest. The diversified portfolio protects those investments from catastrophic loss. The asset protection structures shield everything from lawsuits and creditors. The estate plan ensures it all transfers efficiently. And the professional guidance ties it all together and keeps you from sabotaging yourself with emotional decisions. Here's what most people miss about wealth protection. It's not about being paranoid. It's about understanding that the rules change when you hit 7 figures. The strategies that got you to 1 million, the hustle, the risk-taking, the concentrated bets, those strategies will destroy your wealth if you keep using them. Wealth accumulation rewards aggression. Wealth preservation rewards defense. You're not trying to double your money in the next 2 years. You're trying to ensure that 20 years from now, your wealth has compounded steadily, survived multiple market cycles, avoided catastrophic losses, minimized tax drag, and positioned your family for generational success. That requires a completely different mindset. The millionaires who build legacies understand something profound. Money is not the goal. Money is the tool. The goal is freedom, options, security. The ability to take care of your family and support causes you believe in, and you can't do any of that if you lose the money through taxes, lawsuits, bad investments, or poor planning. Your future self, the one who retires comfortably, who helps their kids buy homes, who supports grandchildren's education, who leaves a legacy that matters, that person is counting on the decisions you make right now. Not next year, not when you have 2 million, right now with your first million. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Most people who make their first million don't keep it. They make emotional decisions. They skip the boring but essential steps. They think they're invincible, and 5 years later, they're starting over, wondering what happened. The 5 pillars we just covered: professional guidance, tax optimization, asset protection, diversified investing, and estate planning, these aren't optional upgrades for millionaires. They're the foundation. They're what separates people who temporarily have money from people who build generational wealth. What financial topic is affecting your life that you can't find a straight answer on? Taxes, estate planning, investment strategies, asset protection? Let me know in the comments. That's what this channel is for, cutting through the complexity and giving you the information that financial institutions would prefer you never learned. You didn't build your first million by accident. You made sacrifices. You delayed gratification. You stayed disciplined when everyone around you was spending money they didn't have. That same discipline, applied to wealth protection instead of wealth accumulation, is what turns your first million into your family's financial foundation for generations. The boulder isn't something you're pushing uphill anymore. You've built a system where it rolls forward on its own, protected, optimized, and positioned for long-term success. Now keep it that way.